The State Department for Correctional Services, which has been established by the Executive Order Number 1 of June 2025, comprises the Kenya Prison Service and Probation and Aftercare, and the accounting officer is the Principal Secretary. On this Nelson Mandela Day 2025, we gather here to honor the legacy of a towering global icon of justice and reconciliation. More critically, this opportunity further provides us a platform to reaffirm our collective commitment to building humane, just, and accountable correctional systems. Dear friends, today marks a significant milestone as we appreciate the presentation of the Kenya Prison Service Systems Review Report. This assessment, undertaken in collaboration with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, together is a bold step towards institutional transparency and reform. From the onset, I wish to thank EACC for their leadership in guiding this process and to extend our sincere appreciation of UNODC and the European Union for their invaluable support under the Plea 2 program, which brought this review to fruition. As Charity mentioned, we earlier had done a similar review in the sister department, which is Probation and Aftercare, and the document was presented to us for implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, we equally are grateful for the active participation of our development partners, civil society, and all stakeholders in the justice and correction spaces. Your presence today speaks to a shared vision of one government approach that values collaboration, coherence, and commitment. We believe that this report, apart from serving as a diagnostic tool, can equally serve as a roadmap for reform. Esteemed guests, I have observed that the report reveals both strengths and critical systemic gaps. Conversely, it also highlights correctional paradigm shift spanning family days, paralegal units, improved health and sanitation to ongoing digitization efforts of correctional operations. These efforts will assist towards aligning our laws and standing orders with the Constitution and international human rights standards. With Plea support, we are developing a rehabilitation and reintegration policy, a modernization strategy, and an anti-corruption strategy and policy. Therefore, said tools will guide us in operationalizing inmate earning schemes, improving prison enterprise, upgrading infrastructure to promote dignity in offender rehabilitation, as well as reintegration. This year's Mandela's Day is particularly symbolic. It marks the 10th anniversary of the Nelson Mandela Rules and the 15th anniversary of the Bangkok Rules. These global standards make it crystal clear that rehabilitation, non-discrimination, and dignity are not negotiable. They form the very core of correctional justice, echoing Fyodor Dostoevsky's assertion, and I quote, "The degree of civilization in a society can be judged by entering its prisons." I repeat, the degree of civilization in a society can be judged by entering its prisons. When we enter our prisons, what do we see? That is a reflection of our society. That is a reflection of our standards or lack thereof in our society. That is a reflection of how we treat the people at the bottom of the economic stratum. That is also a reflection of our global and collective psyche. And it is very important that we continuously and constantly reflect on how our prisons look like. What are our standards? Do we continually improve those standards? And that is why we have really welcomed EACC to come and interrogate our systems and our infrastructure and really call us out. And it is good that you have called us out in this report, and we commit that we shall implement it. Ladies and gentlemen, equally important, we must robustly confront the corrosive impact of corruption. As the late Pope Francis said, and I quote, "Corruption is paid by the poor." In our context, it is the vulnerable inmate who suffers from mismanagement, from delays, and from malignance. To uphold human dignity, we must embed ethics, compliance, and oversight in every facet of offender management. And the bottom line is that we must care. The greatest problem in failing to address corruption and failing to address lack of standards in our correctional facilities is a don't care attitude. We must care. We must care. We can be the most intelligent persons, the most accomplished persons, the richest kind of persons, but if we don't care about our neighbor, you remember the neighbor principle espoused by our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. If you don't care about your neighbor, then you don't care about how they live. You don't care about their dignity. You don't care that there are no standards even. Leave alone saying there are low standards. There are no standards in those facilities. The bottom line is, do we care? Do we care enough to want not to be corrupt? Do we care enough to have transparency in the way we run our systems? Do we care enough to want to be accountable to the money that is given to us? Do we care enough to provide that uniform? Do we care enough to take care of our prison industries, that they have standards? Do we care enough to see that the finances that we get that are supposed to go to the farms and to build workshops actually go there? Do we care enough to ensure that the monies that are allocated to us to buy uniform for the inmates do actually buy the uniform for the inmates, and that the uniforms are actually distributed to the inmates equitably? Do we care? And that speaks to our level of patriotism. Because if we are not a patriotic lot, from the bottom to the top, from the least one of us to the most senior one of us, if we are not patriotic, then we don't feel the sense and the need to care. And therefore, we keep letting our guard down and the standards go down. What you will see in the prison is what you will go to Kayole and see, is what you will go to Mathare and see, is what you will go to Korogosho and see. It cuts across board. And therefore, as Angel Guerria said, and I quote, "Integrity, transparency, and fight against corruption have to be part of the culture. They have to be taught as fundamental values." As the State Department, we reaffirm our full commitment to implementing the EACC recommendations within a structured and time-bound framework. We shall continue to engage Parliament, oversight bodies, and development partners in tracking progress and mobilizing resources. I now wish to urge us to embrace this report as a turning point for Kenya Prison Service in particular, and by extension, the entire justice chain. Let us build a correctional service rooted in dignity, justice, and people-centric reform. In conclusion, I wish to reiterate that a nation's true character is revealed not by how it treats the powerful. Rather, it is reflected by how it honors the dignity of the most vulnerable. In line with this year's clarion call for action, The Prisoner Matters, I once again remind us that we should embrace efforts geared towards ensuring justice, compassion, and humanity within all its corrections. I wish you a happy Nelson Mandela Day. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya. A few years ago, I had the privilege of visiting Cape Town, the Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. And I saw the room where he lived and the deplorable state in which it had been. Of course, it has, because now it is an icon and a place for tourist attraction, they have suitably improved it. And I reflected on this. That was before I became the PS for Correctional Services. And then coincidentally and providentially, I was made the PS for Correctional Services. And I reflected on how we treat our prisoners without any form of dignity or respect. And in that regard, when I became PS, one of the unfortunate things I observed is how, whereas the prisons for women do have beds, all of them have beds, thanks to the initiative carried out by a humble priest who is now since deceased, Father Peter. The male prisoners do not have a similar treatment of dignity. That since independence, since the inception of when most of our prisons were just detention camps, we have never made effort to ensure that our male prisons live equally in dignity. And so on 19th of March, we launched the He for He Adopt a Bed, a triple-decker campaign to ensure that all our male prisons also have beds. And this is in line with the Nelson Mandela rules of fair and humane treatment of all our inmates. I'm happy to report that out of the 135 prisons in Kenya, now 3 are fully equipped with beds. I wish to correct that statement. I said 135 prisons, 46 belong to women. So all the 46 already have beds. So 89 are the ones that don't have beds. But out of these 89, now 3 are fully equipped with beds. And currently we have just finished making beds for an additional prison. So 88 to go. 85 to go, actually. 85 to go. Why am I saying this? One of our core mandates is rehabilitation, reform, and eventual reintegration of our inmates. That is a call for all of us. It's a duty for all of us. I'm very passionate about these rehabilitation programs, and that is part of the reason why it is essential that EACC comes on board and interrogates how we are conducting those rehabilitation programs. But I know that for the mental wellness and proper framework of an inmate to be attuned to accepting correction, to be attuned to accepting rehabilitation, one of the key factors is to treat them with dignity. And that is why I am calling all of us here to come on board and help us make those beds. It's an onerous task, but I know we are Kenyans, we are patriotic, we can do this. We are up to and equal to the task of ensuring that all our prisons redeem their dignity. So I'm encouraging all of you. We are going to have a dinner fundraiser next month. I will communicate when this shall be, so that we can all come on board and help us improve the dignity of our prisoners. We don't know when any of us will become a guest of the state. At least all of us should say, I played a role in ensuring that these prisons have improved. And I want to thank particularly the officers in charges of the Kenya Prison Service. Since I came into office, they have adopted, embraced, and run with the spirit of Kujituma. I'm sure EACC, when you visited, you have confirmed that the standards have improved because they care. You will see ongoing programs, projects going everywhere you go. People are putting cabro. The water facilities are being improved. The ablution blocks are being improved. The wards are being repainted. And now we are doing beds for the men. Please join us. We are patriotic Kenyans. Let us build Kenya because we care for Kenya. And now I wish to address some of the issues that were raised about the gaps that are prevailing. And number one is the legislative and policy framework. I wish to report, and I'm happy to report, we are at the tail end of the exercise. This week, we are finalizing the recommendations made by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Public Service Commission, as well as the Attorney General, and we're refining the final product, that is the Kenya Correctional Service Bill, as well as the policy for eventual handing over to our CS and finally to the AG for passage, for onward transmission to Parliament. And the new Kenya Correctional Service is an unprecedented piece of work. It addresses all those issues that have been raised in terms of the payment of the inmates, in terms of the treatment of the inmates, and all the other programs, including the standard operating procedures and all other issues that are relevant to mental health and welfare of both the prison officers, the probation officers, as well as the inmates, and persons serving, offenders serving non-custodial sentences. We have made great progress in terms of the decongestion program. The policy and the bill will address that. But in addition to that, recently, His Excellency the President gave amnesty to 4,950 persons serving petty offenses, serving sentences for petty offenses, and all those who had 6 months or less remaining to their sentences. What was the implication of that? And I wish to really thank His Excellency for that effort. For the first time in the history of Kenya, persons serving non-custodial sentences who are administered by probation and aftercare, that is our sister department, are more than those serving custodial sentences. That speaks to the great effort that has been done in the criminal justice system. We have more persons serving community service orders, probation orders, and aftercare than we have those in prisons. That is a tremendous, tremendous effort. I don't think anywhere in Africa we have such a progress. Let us clap for ourselves. It speaks to the success of alternative justice systems and alternative dispute resolution systems. That works in Kenya, and I hope that it will continue working. In addition to that, there were issues raised about lack of transparency, corruption, commingling of funds, money is not being accounted for as it ought to be. And we have solved that problem by digitalization. We are now at an advanced stage of bringing on board, through the help of World Bank, the digitalization of all our 135 correctional facilities at KPS and 148 facilities at probation and aftercare. That will address, inter alia, issues of transparency. We have migrated through the initiative of His Excellency to e-procurement. Once we digitalize all our correctional facilities, and all our officers are retrained in terms of procurement and administration and offender management, whether it be health or it be in regular administration, then we shall have addressed the issues that you have raised. I wish to also say that we are at the final stage of reviewing the Prison Fund Enterprise Regulations. This is an exercise that is spearled by the National Treasury. We have actually finalized, and now we're going into the validation stage. And the outcome of this is that we shall be able to separate both funds of the prison industry, as well as those funds of prison farms. And with that, we have also onboarded the Prison Enterprise Information Management System. It's already a work in progress, and we hope by the time we do a further review, you will see that we have actually completed that exercise. That will solve the problems of the manual finance planning and violation of the PFM regulations as well as the Act. The delayed supplier management payment system, I said we have migrated to e-procurement. All officers have been trained. They will be retrained so that we don't have those delays. We have made a lot of effort in the last financial year to ensure that payments are made in good time, but also it is an issue of training our officers, and that we are actually doing. On the issue of failure to align with the HR, this is an issue on Monday we are going to have a meeting with the Public Service Commission so that we can address the HR challenges that we are having. We acknowledge that we have many HR challenges, even including the issues of the delegated instrument and the authorized officers, authority, etc., and we acknowledge. And those issues, we are addressing them. The issues of a weak payroll system, we already migrated to a new payroll system, which has now already been implemented, and hopefully it will address issues of ghost workers and weak internal controls. It's a work in progress. We are doing that continuously so that we ensure that there will be no issues arising later on. On the issue of stalled projects, that is now being addressed in this financial year. I am happy to report that we got additional funding. We will be able to complete some of the stalled projects. Of course, all this is predicated upon us having adequate funding. We did get funding, and so the stalled projects are now, we're in the process of now the procurement process is on course so that we can finish some of the stalled projects, particularly those which are at least 80% almost complete. We will be able to complete them, and when you come back to do a review, you will see the progress that we have made. On encroachment of prison land and lack of titles, we acknowledge that this has been a problem for very many years. And consequently, when I came on board, I established a technical committee, a multi-sectoral technical committee comprising the State Department for Correctional Services, the National Land Commission, and the Ministry of Lands to address this issue. And I'm happy to report that we are now making progress in getting our titles, in vigorously litigating and defending the cases that are in court, and ensuring that the National Land Commission is enjoined to all the suits because as an administrator of all lands, and we are making a lot of progress. In addition to that, we are happy to report that His Excellency has already proclaimed himself in terms of encroachment of these lands, and so that has given us greater motivation, and we have already gotten additional funds to be able to acquire more of our titles. In addition to that, we have been proactive. Many of our lands now, we have a monthly tree planting day. Every first Thursday of the month, we do tree planting, and our primary focus and our priority is actually planting trees on the boundaries of our land, and that has been instrumental in ensuring or in reducing the encroachment. Finally, I had earlier in my speech alluded to the fact that the State Department is actually formed under Executive Order number 1 of June 2025, and one of its mandates is corrections. If you have a look at that executive order, it will be clear to you that the State Department is not unique to KDF, neither is it unique to National Police Service, neither is it unique to the Public Service, the State Department for Public Service Commission, where the NYS is domiciled. We all know that it's straight law. In a democratic society, you cannot give the gun and the money to a military state. We are not a military state. It is straight law. So when we reflect and make recommendations as to who should have the final authority in terms of money, we must always remember we are a democratic state. What happens under KDF, which is actually headed, the accounting officer is the principal secretary. The NYS, the accounting officer, is the principal secretary, Public Service Commission. The NYS has its own accounting officer who is a civilian. There is nothing unique about the State Department for Correctional Services. We are a democratic state. We must align ourselves with the Constitution. So whatever we say and do, we must always abide to the Constitution. With those few remarks, I want to thank you once again, EACC. Please follow us up. We must improve. We must ultimately become the best correctional services in Africa, or at least one of the best. I'm very happy with the support of UNODC and all the other development partners like IDLO who are really helping us to get into that space. Continue working with us. Don't hesitate to call us out. We are willing to be corrected because it is for the common good that we all improve. It is for the benefit of all Kenyans. We are privileged to be leaders so as to serve, so as to leave a legacy, so as to leave a mark during our tenure. So thank you once again. May God bless you and may God bless Kenya.